The Terps will have four major surprises on Saturday.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you all for making us part of your day. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download the Gametime app today. What time is it? Game time. I think that this Saturday, Maryland football will have four major surprises that a lot of people are not expecting. Four major player surprises that I think are going to stun a lot of Terp fans at the level of play that these four guys play at when they get an opportunity for the Maryland Terrapins. I gave a couple of guys that I thought were going to be X Factor types of guys. I talked about Shalik Knotts the other day. I also talked about Neo Avery, the redshirt freshman who was originally a four-star, who I thought is really talented. But I'm going to give you four guys that aren't necessarily X factors, aren't necessarily stars either, but four guys that I think are kind of going to be major surprises for the Maryland Terrapins. I think the number one guy that's going to be a really good surprise for the Terps fans and a breath of fresh air, if you will, in the offensive line is actually Andre Roy, who is expected to be our starting left tackle. If you guys remember, this was a guy that Coach Locksley talked super high about in one of his press conferences. And I say it, whenever Coach brings up a guy that is playing at a really high level, like somebody didn't ask about Andre Roy. They weren't like, oh, how is Andre Roy doing? And he had to give a quick coach talk and was like, yeah, Andre Roy looks good. He's doing all the right things and whatever the coaches normally say. They asked him, who has been your biggest keyword surprise in fall camp so far? And he said one of the biggest surprises, one of the really good surprises have been Andre Roy. And so I think the fact that Coach Locksley has talked really high on him, I think going into Saturday's game, I think Andre Roy is going to surprise a lot of Terps fans at the level of play that he's going to play at. I think on Saturday, he's going to be a shutdown left tackle. For the rest of the season, will he be a shutdown left tackle? I'm not so convinced about that yet, but I think on Saturday against UConn, a team that we should be physically dominant over. We should be able to dominate them at the line of scrimmage. I talked about that yesterday, but I think Andre Roy is a guy that's going to be a healthy surprise for Terps fans because I think a lot of people are expecting our O-line to struggle, for it not to be great. There's 5 new starters up there, and there's not a lot of proven guys up there that have played a ton of football. There's just not. There's a lot of transfers, but Andre Roy is a guy that has been there. He's been in the system. Sounds like he's done it the right way, has waited his turn, and now he's going to get his chance to go out there as a redshirt sophomore and compete and play at a really high level. So I want to see what Andre Roy looks like. I think he's going to be one of the biggest surprises, and we're going to be talking about how good he looks after the game. Well, maybe it's not the first topic of conversation. Everyone's going to want to talk about the quarterback battle in the quarterback room, but I think we are going to talk about Andre Roy, even though he's a guy up front, because I think we're going to be surprised at how good Andre Roy looks. So he is my first surprise. And a guy in the receiver room, I think, is going to be another surprise for the Terps, who I haven't talked about enough, is Braden Wisolowski. I think he is going to be another major surprise. He is a preseason all Big Ten special teams guy in terms of punts and kick returns. And I think a lot of people think he is going to impact us in the special teams way, which I think is absolutely true. But I think Braden also has a chance to really impact the offense just on normal downs, every down plays. I think his explosive ability, what he brings to the Terps, how special of an athlete he is. Obviously, last year in a crowded receiver room, he didn't get a chance to do a lot. But I think this year, Braden Wisolowski in year one against UConn, I think he gets some touches. I know we think of Prather and Ty Felton in that receiver room, and I've talked about Knotts and Octavian Smith as guys, but don't count out Braden, the sophomore, who I think is next in line to make a huge impact. I think in terms of his skill sets, you can just give him the ball in the screenplay. He's a guy you just want to get the ball in his hands, and don't be surprised if he also has a big return. And I think that would be surprising as well. Anytime a guy has a big return, looks really good on the special teams type of things, it's a little bit of a surprise. It's not the top of your mind usually, even though we saw him return a kick against UVA to the house, but I still think he's a guy that is going to surprise us specifically on the offense side of the ball. I think he's going to be a guy, he could even just get the ball. Like we could just hand him the ball off. He's really diverse in his skill set in terms of what he can do offensively. I think he's another guy that's going to be a major surprise for the Terps. I think he's a guy you can incorporate in your game plan. There's a lot of different things you can do with a guy like that. You know who it kind of reminds me of? It's a little bit of a heightened comparison, but it reminds me a little bit of a Deebo Samuel type of role. When you watch what Deebo Samuel does in the NFL, he gets some carries. Obviously, he's mainly a receiver. They give him a lot of jet tosses. Like, he's that type of guy to me. He can be a Deebo Samuel. I think that's a really good comparison for him. And I think it's going to start to come out this year how special of an athlete Braden Wissolowski is and some of the things that he can do overall for the Terps. So I do think he's going to be a huge surprise. Another surprise on the offense side of the ball, Nolan Ray, 100% is going to surprise a lot of people. He might be my most guaranteed surprise. Like, he is going to be the number one guy that I think a lot of guys are going to look at after this game and be like, whoa. I didn't see that coming from Nolan. I didn't think he was that good. He's probably the number one guy that we're going to be surprised about. We're going to be like, whoa, he's that type of athlete? He runs like that. He's that explosive. I really do believe that. And I'm going to talk more about the running back room next and how they're going to help us win this game. But so I'm not going to get into him too much because I'm talking about it a little bit later. But I do think he's going to be a guy that surprises all of us Terps fans. And we're going to look at it and be like, whoa, he runs like that? That can really help us win games. Oh, we had a 40-yard run. I think he's going to have that type of run. And now switching over to the defense side of the ball, Michael Harris, the sophomore linebacker, is going to be a major surprise. Maryland loves to rotate different guys in and out. That's a constant theme that I talk about on Locked on Terps. We play a lot of different guys. And last year, I'm thinking about just the linebacker room. We played like 5 guys in there, like 4 or 5 guys. Like when you really think about, like, we played, of course, Hippolyte. We played Caleb Wheatland, who are going to be the projected 2 starters this year. But we also played Gote. We also played Jayshon Barham. Michael Harris saw some snaps, but he was a 4-star. He was a 4-star out of high school. And so now I'm looking at him to make a jump, had to add some weight. But I think that Ruben and Caleb, yeah, they're going to be the starter. But Michael Harris is going to look really good. And he could push Caleb Wheatland. I think in terms of athletically, he's at a higher level than Caleb Wheatland. But Caleb Wheatland's been always so solid mentally. But I think that what Michael Harris brings in terms of his athleticism, I think is truly like is some of this more special stuff you're going to see in that linebacker room. There's some really good young talent in that linebacker room when you look at it. Like the freshman Trey Riddick and Kayshawn Flowers, Daniel Wingate as well. And then, of course, there's the more veterans like Caleb and Ruben, but I think Michael Harris, the sophomore, Daniel Wingate, also the sophomore, can make an impact. But I think Michael Harris is going to be a guy that surprises a lot of people. So those are some guys that I think are going to surprise a lot of Terps fans that we're going to talk about as guys that are going to be impact types of guys. Andre Roy, for one, starting left tackle. I think he hasn't gotten a chance to really prove himself up front, but I think this is his year to really show that he can be the starter for the next 3 years for the Terps at that left tackle spot. And then as well as Braden Wissolowski, I'm telling you, he's in that Deebo Samuel type of mold, even the way he's built. Like, he's not quite Deebo, obviously, but the way he's built, the way he runs, the way he returns kicks, like, I see a lot of Deebo in him in terms of him as a player. And so those are 2 guys. And then Nolan Ray, I'm going to talk about the running back room, and of course, Michael Harris. I think the running back room is going to explode against UConn. I'll talk about that after this ad from the Gametime app and FanDuel. Have you ever wanted to go to a game at the last minute, like a Maryland Terrapins game, but finding tickets is hard? I have been there before. Buying tickets to your favorite event shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last minute tickets and their best price guaranteed, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Game Time has deals on tickets right at the start of an event and even an hour after it starts. It's a place to find last-minute seats and take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Well, we have something a little different for you, and now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers get to bet $5 and get 3 weeks free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out of market game. All you need is a Google account and the current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Guys, make sure your guys are getting on FanDuel right now with the NFL and college football season rolling around. I know a lot of you guys want to bet on those sports. So just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sports book. The Maryland running back room is going to absolutely go bonkers and explode against the UConn Huskies. I talked about it yesterday. The offensive line, I think, is going to dominate UConn. When you look at the difference between a UConn versus a Big Ten type of program like a Maryland, like some of the even middle types of Big Ten programs, like a Michigan State, like a Minnesota, the biggest difference is going to be up front. They're going to have a really hard time dealing with our offensive line. And even though our offensive line is by no means what I think of as an elite group in college football, I don't think it as the line like that. I don't think we're an upper group in the Big Ten. I don't even know if we're a middle of the pack type of group in the Big Ten. But compared to a team like the UConn Huskies, those guys are going to push them back. And what happens when we push them back? What happens when we get that line going and guys like Alan Herron and Bowlow from Georgia and Josh Kullenberger and Andre Roy and Kyle Long and whoever else may play up there? What happens when we're pushing them back? The running backs eat. The running backs play well when the offensive line plays well and run blocks. I'm a big believer in the offensive that your running backs are really only as good as your offensive line a lot of the time. I'm a big believer in that. I know in some cases it's not true, and sometimes you can have a special back and they can make plays even with a poor offensive line. But I really do believe that you can sit someone back there that's just a decent running back, that's just okay back there, and if he has an elite offensive line up front, he is going to get yardage if it's creating holes. And I think when we look at this game against UConn, we have a good running back room. We have a really solid running back room. It's a tick below the highest ones in the Big Ten, like at Ohio State, the Junkins and Travion Henderson, and Penn State, Singleton and Allen. Like those guys are at the top right now in terms of the Big Ten and the running backs. But I think we're just a tick below. And I think Roman Hemby and Nolan Ray and Colby McDonald and anybody else who gets carries for the Terps, but specifically those three guys, are going to go crazy on UConn. First of all, Roman Hemby, I think, is going to be huge in this game. Just because, first of all, he's experienced. We know what Roman Hemby is going to bring. He's he's a veteran now in that room. He's no longer a young guy. He understands at a game like this how to get yardage, how to get big gains. Like he understands that now as a junior, as a redshirt junior. He understands how to play a game like this. He understands how to really let go and get downhill against a team like UConn. He's really going to be able to do that. And I think about us starting a new quarterback, whoever that is. We still don't know who it is. We won't know until the game actually starts. And I said it yesterday. I think that benefits us. It makes it harder for them to game plan. They have to prepare for all three guys in that quarterback room, whether it's Cameron Edge, whether it's Billy Edwards, whoever it is. They're going to have to game plan for all three of those different guys. And so I look at it for the Terps and I say, they're going to want to hand the ball off. They're going to want to get the ball out of that young quarterback's hand. We're not going to want to just throw the ball a bunch. Like, it's not going to be like that. Like, if Talia was back there, I would say just go ahead and throw it all over the place. And I would say that Caden Prather and Ty Felton are going to absolutely go crazy against the UConn defense. But with our quarterback room, with what I kind of expect and how our current roster looks and going against UConn, I expect us to run the dang ball. Run the ball, just like the Georgia Tech coach said. I don't think we're going to need to create big plays with our arms in this game. And I think that Roman Hemby is going to have big gain after big gain. I expect us to average a really good number on the ground in that running room. And Colby McDonald last year was awesome. Always would find the crivets, always would find the holes, knew how to run the football, is not the most exciting athlete in that room, but he averaged the most yards per carry. Like, he knows how to play running back. And against a team like UConn, he'll still be a better athlete than a lot of those guys, so he could potentially have a really big day. And then Nolan Ray's a guy that I'm been super high on. I said it. He's a guy that's going to surprise a ton of people for the Terps. So look out for Nolan Ray because he's going to break one. I'm calling it now. Nolan Ray will break an explosive run of upwards of, I'm going to say, 30 yards. Nolan Ray is going to get a 30-yard at least gain. I can't wait to see it because I think it's definitely going to happen where Nolan Ray takes a step up and gets like a 30-yard gain, and we're like, oh my gosh, Nolan Ray just absolutely broke off for a huge gain for the Terps. And so I think they're going to lead us to victory on this offensive side of the ball. It's not going to be about the receivers or the tight ends, I don't think. And yeah, we might pass for a big number. That might end up happening. But I really do think that it's more about the running backs in this game and the running game. It's going to be about playing good defense and running the football against a team like UConn. And then a little play action here or there. MJ Morris, Billy Edwards, whoever it may be. And I like our chances to look good doing that. But I think the running backs are going to go absolutely crazy. I had to talk about it. Beau Brade makes the Ravens team as an undrafted free agent. We will talk about that after this ad from 5 Hour Energy. Tired after lunch? You're not alone. In fact, research shows that over 70% of us hit a wall after lunch. Let a 5 Hour Energy shot help you leap over that wall instead of crashing into it. Or do you want to get in shape, but you're having trouble staying motivated? I know sometimes I am. Make 5 Hour Energy shots part of your lifestyle and get the energy boost you need to get fit. We all know you sometimes do not want to go to the gym, so take a 5 Hour Energy shot and give you the feeling of alertness so you can get to the gym. With zero sugar and convenient portable size, it's a perfect pick up for getting stuff done. The 5 Hour Energy website has flavors galore like watermelon, tropical burst, grape, berry, and more. And there is a flavor for everyone. Try them all. On this site, you even have the option to build your own 12-pack or 24-pack. You choose the flavor and it's delivered right to your door. So if you go to 5hourenergy.com and enter the number 5, your energy.com and get 5-hour energy products a day. You can use promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th and on the order and cannot be used with the promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders, so go to 5hourenergy.com today. So Beau Brade made the NFL roster for the Baltimore Ravens, which I think is absolutely tremendous. And I felt like I had to talk about today, even with the game coming up this weekend, because what a story for this kid, Beau Brade. He goes into his last season as a Terps, and a lot of people think he's a top 10 safety, a top 5 safety on some boards, thinks he can get drafted. I thought he was going to get drafted and put together a really solid season to really make his case. But draft day comes and he goes undrafted after a lot of people had him projected to go like 5th, 4th round. Even on Mel Kiper's best available, like Beau Brade was up there on the graphic in the, like, I want to say it was like the 6th round, 5th round. He was on his best available list. So it was pretty surprising that he didn't get drafted. I thought maybe it's because he didn't test well or whatever. I wasn't exactly sure why he didn't get drafted. He didn't go to the combine, but he ended up doing some of the stuff at Maryland Pro Day. So I didn't know if he didn't look great there. I don't know. But after getting signed by the Ravens, which a lot of Maryland players do, it is still not easy. There's a ton of players in NFL training camps. Like, there's a lot of them. And going into the Ravens training camp as an undrafted free agent and making the team, that is no easy thing to do. So that is pretty big time for him because he played awesome. You saw him running around the preseason game, making play after play after play after play after play after play after play. And that was really cool to see from Beau Brade, a guy that just continued to make plays and made more plays and was really a special type of talent for the Ravens in the preseason. And guys were talking about him. People were doing film breakdowns. A lot of different people were doing different things, talking about Beau Brade and the special kind of player that Beau Brade looked like. And he looked special. He looked good. He looked like a top-end player. And now he gets to get his opportunity to play for the Baltimore Ravens, which is pretty close to the University of Maryland. So I think that is super cool that he made their 53-man roster and he gets to play behind some really good guys like a Kyle Hamilton, who's one of the best defenders in the entire NFL, who went to Notre Dame and has done a really good job playing in the NFL. Really came on last year, especially was good in the past, but really came on last year. So he gets to play behind Kyle Hamilton and some other really good Ravens. He gets to travel. He gets to be on the team. He'll probably be on the field a little bit. I expect him to be on special teams. They don't usually take you as one of those last guys to make it if you're not a guy that can play special teams at a high level, and you know he's going to do that at a high level. And the thing is, all you have to do is get on the roster. When you're a guy like that, when you're a guy like Beau Brade, all you have to do is figure out a way to get on the team, because once you're on the team, that's when you can get a real opportunities. We know injuries happen every year, and I don't wish that on any Ravens players, but if Beau Brade gets an opportunity because of injury or whatever, then he'll have an opportunity to play in a real game on Sundays, not just a preseason game where people are going to be like, yeah, he's going against third stringers, though, against real teams, against real first stringers, against the best in the entire world, the best in the NFL. He could get a real opportunity. But until then, he's just got to stay on the team, make sure he does the right things, make sure he's in the right spots. And you know he'll do that because he's a guy that he loves football. He eats, breathes football. He's a good guy. He was a leader for our team. He was one of our best leaders. And so I look at Beau Brade and I say, I'm super excited for him. Like, I don't know him personally, but I was like just really happy and excited because you know how hard that kid works. And so for him to make that team, I thought was truly like a blessing for him, just because you see people tweet about and talk about it saying like the league not messed up, not me getting drafted, whatever. But he really put it into words that I didn't get drafted. I should have absolutely got drafted. I don't know exactly why I didn't get drafted, but I'm going to make the Ravens happy that they got me. And so if he gets an opportunity to play ever, I know he'll take advantage of it. But it looked like in preseason, he wasn't thinking. He was just rolling downhill, making plays, didn't care about really anything, wasn't worried about getting cut, wasn't playing tentative. And so if he can continue to do that in a real game, whether that's special teams, whether that's real snaps, he might just get 1 or 2 snaps in the game because someone's helmet comes off or something like that. You never know, but he's such a special type of kid, and he's a really talented guy that he's going to take advantage of it. I already know that. So congrats to Beau Brade for making the Ravens 53-man roster, and it's good that he's playing for a local team. That's all we have for today. Thank you for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball, so thank you for listening to Locked on Terps.